Welcome, everybody. This is Dan French here. I'm with my co-host, Krulsawat. He is from Simply Vegas. This is the LV Home Expert Show every Saturday on KDWN News Talk Radio, 6 to 7 p.m. What's going on today, Chakits? How you feeling today, buddy?
I'm feeling good, man. How's everything going with you?
Amazing.
How was your week?
I was good. I a little under the weather, but, I think we're going to, plug along and get through this, and we're going to have everybody hopefully buying homes and getting financing.
I know. You sound pretty sick this morning, man.
Yeah, I was pretty sick, man. And then also, we have in studio
the one and only.
Go ahead and introduce your buddy.
My man, Joey. Oh, actually, the co-host, Joey.
What's up, people? How you guys doing?
So, Joey, what's going on, buddy? We want to talk a little bit about you and just kind of how you got in the real estate world and maybe give the audience some insight about who you are and kind of what your hobbies, maybe some things you do.
Originally from South Florida. Been in the game since 2005.
Okay.
Yeah, prior to that, I DJ'd in Miami for about 10 years.
Yeah.
DJ. Oh, yeah.
Baby, South Beach.
Yeah. Welcome to Miami.
Yeah, no, it was a good time. I was out there for 10 years DJing, and then 2005, I got my real estate license and never looked back, man. So
What made you transition from DJing to a real estate agent?
I wanted to make some money.
Oh, you wasn't making money as a DJ?
I mean, you're making a little bit of money.
But you wanted to make the real money.
I want to make the real money, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, you look at what real estate has to offer, and I don't blame you, Joey. I mean, once you start looking at that and you're like, oh, look at this, and,
So you've been selling real estate now for 15 years. When did you transition out here to Vegas?
In 13.
In 13?
Yeah, 2013, I just took a plunge, man. I had some friends living out here, and they all just sold me on the dream, right? Mm-hmm. So wanted something different, really wanted something different. I got burned out in Miami. I worked on a lot of projects out there in downtown, the Brickell area, which is like the hot downtown area. Worked on a few pre-construction projects, and it was just like a rat race, man.
Was this all commercial, or was this like residential?
No, it was residential. Yeah,
Gotcha,
residential. Yeah, I mean, it was like through the whole condo boom.
So when you transitioned out here, did you jump right into real estate too, or?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah. I started doing some fix and flips.
Okay.
Some investment properties. Did that for a couple of years, and then I transitioned into new homes.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so I got an opportunity to work for Woodside Homes out in Summerlin.
A good company.
Yeah, so it was a good time. I learned a ton.
Did you really?
Yeah, I learned a lot, man, just from the whole aspect of home building, everything that goes into it. All the milestones, and just it's a really cool process.
So what do you like better? Residential as far as new homes or just regular resales? What do you like better?
I mean, sitting at a desk at new home sales pretty cushy. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. But don't you always gotta be somewhere?
You do.
8 to 5, 6 days a week.
10 to 6, 8 days a week. Yeah, no, you're in it. But definitely general real estate gives you more flexibility.
Okay.
You get it's actually kind of neat because you get to go through the process with somebody who's coming in out of town, and you might have to work with them for 6, 8, 9 months trying to find that right property for them and their family.
And what you have that benefits our clients is you've been in the industry as far as new homes, so you know how that process works.
Yeah.
Versus just you have a lot of agents out there don't really deal with new homes because they don't understand the process.
No, they don't. And I think some of these new agents, they get into the process. They don't even know how to write up a contract or, you know what I mean? So they have to go through that process. I don't know if it's you guys, but do you guys feel like some of these agents feel it's intimidating to go after a new home, especially right away if you get into the business?
Well, within this industry, every single agent has a niche. And this is pretty much our niche. We deal primarily with new homes and buyers out of state. So we help do that transition and literally walk our clients through the process.
So is it easier to have somebody that's seasoned as a real estate agent?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
For new homes?
It's like you're having surgery. I mean, if the doctor's, this is his first surgery. I mean, I don't know.
So, obviously you've seen some success here, Joey. And, obviously you guys are a really good team over here. You guys have really good structure. And so, I'm grateful to work with you. So
yeah, likewise. I feel the same.
Yeah. So let's talk about what we're going to talk about on the show today.
That's a good idea.
So we're going to jump into some demographics and the importance of demographics and how this might pertain to you out there.
Yeah.
Especially if you're buying a home. So Chuck, you got some maybe some statistics and some stuff that you want to talk about first, right?
Yeah, so let's probably explain why this is important. Because, look, if you are an investor or if you are just coming out here to buy your first home, you need to know what's going on with the current trends. Because if you're looking to buy and stay in your property for the next 3, 5, 10, or 15 years, you want to position yourself correctly. Not only that, if you are an investor, you want to make sure that you are buying in the right location. You can see the trends. You can see the forecast. How do we take a look at that? It's all demographics. That plays a key role.
It does. And I think, you look at, we talk a lot of stuff. We're not going to go on crazy detail on some, demographics with, gross domestic product, things like that. But even our government and a lot of things that we have in life, demographics plays a big role.
Yes.
And especially if you talk about financing and real estate, it really does play a big role on certain demographics, certain locations, certain median price points that maybe people can buy or can't buy. And so what is the average median income wage earner here in Las Vegas right now?
Well, the average here in Las Vegas is $57,000 at this time, but I've broken it down to every city. So basically, the city of Las Vegas is $57,000, North Las Vegas is $53,000, and Henderson is $64,000. And the reason why we want to know this is because we want to know what the average people are making and what they could actually afford within the city. That's like if we took a look at California right now, they're making an average about $75,000, and that's why if we take a look at the demographics and the matrix of it. This is the reason why a lot of people from California are moving on out here, because they're making about $75,000. But based upon $75,000, how much is a mortgage for $75,000?
Well, if you talk about $75,000, you look at if you're making or you make income of $75,000 annually, you're looking at probably anywhere about, I would say, about a $3,000 mortgage.
Okay, and how much of a purchasing power is that?
Well, I would say that's probably close to $415, maybe a little bit higher, maybe to $450.
So if it's at $415 to $450, let's just say, the average sales right now throughout the Las Vegas Valley is about $367,000.
Yeah.
So that's why we see a high fluctuations of people from California moving here, because you just get more bang for your buck, right?
Absolutely. And, a lot of it is dependent, and I get this question all the time, Californians, East Coast, Hawaiians, we always talk about this. It's because they earn a higher wage. So when they come here, it's not downgrading. It's just they're taking advantage of another area or demographic of people are willing to spend, and they have higher homes values in that area. So when they sell their house, but a lot of them transfer their income as well to here. So if you're saying that you're making $75,000 in California, like you talked about, it's not making it's a good living.
Yes.
But you compare that to here, and it's just a lot better.
Get more bang
it's a
for
lot.
your buck.
Yeah, it's a lot more flexibility. So, Joey, when you talk about some of these clients that you're taking out, and we'll talk about somebody that is buying at $450,000, do you feel that in that demographic that people are a little bit more qualified, or do they still maybe need some help? Kind of give me your ideas about what's happening out there when you talk about people from like that 350 to 450 demographic, as far as you're dealing with.
Yeah, I can see that they need some assistance, but you don't see it as much as if somebody was purchasing a $300,000 home or $350,000.
Right.
I see that there's been a little shift too, like in that base price. So based on like the 350s, you're not really seeing that many qualified buyers.
Yeah.
Right. They're having a difficult time. So you're seeing these people that are having the 450s, even pushing it to 500s in some of these newer homes.
Yeah.
They're getting their closing costs paid, which is helping out tremendously, right? But I don't see them as needing as much assistance.
Well, I think the reason why is because the average throughout the valley is only $51,000. Compare that to $75,000. That's a big jump.
Yeah.
And it seems like our local market, right, is pretty much getting pushed out, and that's why you see a lot of people from out of state that's moving out here, and that's one of the challenges today.
So 367,000. That's the average priced home that's being sold.
That is correct.
So if you look at some of the people that maybe can afford this, okay, you go back 4 or 5 years. We're talking a big difference between what it was back then and now. So
people are squawking when homes were $250.
Yeah. So now it's like, okay, so does one person, or is it two people that have to qualify for this home, because now it's a bigger payment? Obviously, there's more home. I'm sure there's some people that can still afford a home at that price point, but I'm just saying, is it starting to catch up where we need two incomes to support that payment, going into this house.
Well, I mean, just the way that inflation is going nowadays, I would say yes, but I'm sure you're aware of that because you look at people's finances all the time.
Yeah.
And it's normally both incomes you really need to get finance for a home. And if you take a look at our nation, we're just in debt, basically. So we are in an economy today where we just spend and spend more and more money. Like, we've worked with clients where they have 2 car notes, right? Over $1,500.
Yeah.
That's just crazy.
Yeah, and 367, that's about a $2,500 mortgage payment. Now, if you're somebody out there at 51,000, like you said, that average person out there making, which is a good living. I mean, let's not put anybody down with that. That's a good living, but that's already half of your income.
Yeah.
So if anything comes up, well, now you need that extra support, and that might be somebody, a spouse or somebody that comes on the loan with you if you're getting a loan. And so I think that's what we have to really recognize,
Now, if you guys have any questions regarding real estate or financing, please call in today at 702-257-5396. Also, if you're just getting started and you want to start looking at homes, visit lvhomeexperts.com.
I got a quick thing to say real quick as we're talking about house prices and demographics here. What do you guys think the average or the poverty limit on how much somebody makes on a 2-person with 2 kids household income? What do you think that number is?
I couldn't tell you.
I got this information.
48,000.
Well, not here in Vegas. Vegas is doing well, but I think nationally we're at 25,200.
That's just crazy.
That's considered
25,200.
That's considered poverty level, and I don't know where those pockets are at across the country, so I'm not going to even try to guess that. But
how much could I qualify for 28,000?
I don't know. I think you're going to have to. I don't know, man. That's pretty low.
60 G's.
60 G's, maybe. Yeah. I mean, that's.
I don't even know if you can get finance nowadays for 60 G's.
60,000. I mean, no. I mean, is there even properties at 60,000? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, you might be able to
Not
finance a
anymore.
cardboard box.
Well, I'm sure you can get one property that's out there, but here's the thing: you're not going to be able to get financed.
Well, you know what? If somebody actually asked me this question, what's the lowest limit you can buy or finance? And really, there's not, but banks do put in a limit.
Yeah.
And I always say 75,000. I mean, you got to realize too, in this market, what's out there with 75,000? Nothing really, right?
Yeah.
So
Tear down.
So going back to demographics, what else do you have to talk about with demographics?
Well, let's just start off here. So the world population right now is about 7.7 billion. The United States is about 331 million at this time. According to the U.S. Census, the median price point, actually the median household income is only $63,000. At $63,000, let's talk about this. What are you actually qualified as far as purchasing power?
So $63,000 is going to put you. You got to realize that. Okay, that's probably about
no debt.
You're probably like right around that 5,000 mark. You're probably looking at maybe a $2,000 to $2,200 payment. So I mean, you're probably really looking at about $300,000 to purchase.
Well, that's not that much.
That's not that much. Maybe to 325. Now, there is compensating factors. There's things that you depend on with programs and things. But if you're talking about a primary residence, worst case scenario, you're looking at right around 300 to 350, maybe 325.
And this is what you need to do if you guys are listening that are out of state. You need to see what you make in your state, so that way you can get with a lender, right?
Yeah.
Run the numbers to see if it actually makes sense, and that's where you really want to start.
Yeah.
Because if you're making more money, that means you can come out here and you can get a little bit more and more bang for your buck, and the cost of the living is a lot cheaper.
Joey, how many clients do you have that are in that 300 price point? Do you have a few clients that are at 300,000?
Barely.
Just a handful.
Right. And so,
the thing is now is that we had a lot of people that were sitting on the sideline for the past year and a half, right? And they're, trying to see where the market's going. They weren't ready to buy, or maybe they were ready to buy, but they just wanted to see where the prices were going to go, and then all of a sudden now they're priced out of the market.
Yes.
Right? Because how many homes on the market resales do we have?
I think
5,000?
less than 5,000 at this time.
Yeah, and I think that's going to open up maybe as we get closer to summer, maybe the months that people. But
no, that number's going to drop.
You think it's going to come down?
I guarantee you, this year I'm going to call it 3 to 5% gain. this year.
Yeah.
So what's going to happen is once the summer kicks, kids are out of school, homes are going to sell, and what you're going to see is that a lot of people are going to start being pushed towards new homes because on the resale side, there's just nothing out there, and a lot of people are starting to get bought out of the market, and that's why you have a high fluctuation again. People from California, people from the East Coast, they're taking the money that they make out there, moving on out here, and they're starting to realize I get more bang out of the buck. And what happens is our local people, our local market is getting pushed out of the market. So it's a challenge. Okay.
See, I always talk about from the financing world.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say that it is a challenge, and it's starting to get to that point. If it does increase 3 to 5%, a lot of people are like, well, do we want to go buy new, or do we stay in the current home and maybe refinance some of the equity out of the property too? It's getting to the point where can we replace that same rate of what they're in or that home with a new home? And there's a big, I don't know, what do I do? What do I do? So.
Yeah, and I think that, even those people that were in that 300, 350, even close to 400 range, now they're finding if they do go to new homes, the base price of these homes are starting much higher.
And not including the lot premium, upgrades, and options.
Let's take some of these callers. They've been sitting online here. Denise, are you ready to put one through? I've got Alan, first caller here. Alan, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm good. How about you guys?
Good. Thanks for calling in. I appreciate the time. And what's your question, sir?
Well, it's not so much of what you guys are talking about. Planning to get my real estate license, and my question is it good to interview brokers right now before you get your license, or should I interview them after I get my license?
This is what I would do. I want to get ready. Just go ahead and get your license because every broker is going to want you to hang your license with them.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think, you also, you have people that come in and they look for opportunity like this. You guys recruit, and you guys, not saying with this call, but you recruit people. But like you said, do you guys come in with the process of training too?
Unfortunately, we don't because we have such a high volume of clients, and we have to hire the experienced guys. Like Joey came on board, boom, we just hit it, move forward. So.
Alan, there's hope though. Hopefully we answered your question. I think that's a good place to start. Don't wait. Do it sooner than later,
Yeah, my recommendation would be to just go after a reputable company and see if you could join a team so you can get the experience.
Yeah, I got you because I'm taking my test on Monday. So.
Well, good luck, man. We're rooting for you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Alan. All right, we got another caller here. Denise, can you put through Stan's been standing on line 2. Stan, are you there?
Yes, I am.
How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing fine. How y'all doing?
Wonderful.
Doing great.
Wonderful. So your question is, can you buy in the Ridges cash? Is that correct?
Of course, you can buy anything cash.
Well, that's not really my question. That's the prospect I'm looking into.
Oh, gotcha.
My question is, what's the quickest you can close on a house in the Ridges and move in?
Well, it depends. If you are financing, it depends on your lender. Number 2, it depends on the title company that you choose because they have to pull the prelim title reports. They have to find out what's attached. They have to pull the demands with the county. So normally the title company could take about 14 days. So if you paid cash, you could probably get it done within 7 to 14 days. Now that just comes down to the title company.
Well, so that means if you came to Vegas, you bought a house, paid cash, you could probably move in within 2 to 3 weeks.
You're absolutely correct, sir.
Well, that was my question. I appreciate it.
Stan,
not a problem.
Thank you so much for calling in, sir. You have a good night, okay?
You. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, we got also another caller here. We're just trying to get through these real quick. Naomi's sitting on line 3.
Yes.
Naomi, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm calling from Hawaii.
Ooh, nice.
I like it.
Hi,
Aloha.
Aloha.
Hey, how you doing? How's that weather out there right now?
Yeah, we watch you all the time.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Much love, much love. So what's your question?
So, my question is, how do we schedule for meet with you? Because my daughter and I are coming to Las Vegas March 13th to the 19th, and we want to choose you as our realtor. So we just wanted to know, how do we meet up with you, and how do we make arrangements to start looking at new homes?
Okay, so what we're going to do...
Area.
Okay, so what we're going to do is I'll have the producer take your contact information. Then what I'll do is I'll reach out to you on Monday, and then we'll schedule a buyer consultation. Then we'll set up that appointment. Then we'll go through the whole process, and I'll show you exactly what is going on. So it's going to be me or Joey, but we'll definitely be meeting up for sure, okay?
Oh, yeah, that sounds good.
All right,
Very
thank
good.
you so much. We appreciate that. You have a blessed day now.
Thanks for calling in, Naomi. All right, we got another caller. We're going to get this last one here, and then we're going to have to cut the break here in a second. We got Mark on line 4, right?
Yes.
Mark, what's going on?
Hey, guys, I love your show.
Oh,
Thanks,
thank
buddy.
you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, just a quick question. I'm in a crossroads right now regarding moving back to Cali. I've been here 6 years, and my question is it financially more feasible? I know you have to pay more property tax moving back, but is it more, financially feasible moving back versus just staying here? As far as I know, you get more bang for your buck here, but could you just tell me, like, if that, with a $1 million property, what's the difference aside from property tax?
Well, the property tax, the rule of thumb is about 1% of the sales price on a resale. It's just a little bit lower than that. Also, depending on your district, too, as well. That gets adjusted every single year. And you should be getting a letter every single year from the county if they're going to raise the taxes or lower the taxes. As far as is it better here or California? That's more of a personal thing, and I can't answer that question for you. So, I mean, you would just have to take a look at your financial situation to see if it makes sense. But I can tell you, you're already saving 10% by living here versus California.
Right.
Do you
right.
have?
It's just a happiness factor. That's the only thing. It's just there's a lot more. The drivers here are horrible. I'm sorry, guys.
No, I understand. I mean, no, it's a good question. So don't feel. I mean, hopefully we answered that question. Is that everything you were looking for in that question?
Pretty much. Just aside from the 10% cost of living, as Chakits was mentioning.
Right. Well, and so I mean, if you want to get a hold of us outside studio, Chakits information, and you could probably reach out through the. We have Denise here too. If you wanted to give your information, if you wanted more outside studio, okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Now, if you guys want more information on the housing market, visit lvhomeexperts.com. If you have any questions regarding financing, visit lvhomeexperts.com. There's a drop-down menu on financing, and go ahead and ask any questions you may have.
I got a question.
It better not be a hard one.
Back to trivia. No, so let's go back to the demographics. I want to talk to you about age groups.
Yes,
Okay.
and that's very important.
So age groups, where do you see age groups buying homes? And is it price points where you see more age groups buying specific priced homes?
You know what? This is actually a good topic, and I wanted to bring this up. So if we take a look at the population in the United States, we have 6 different generations. We have the greatest generations, and that's from the age of 92 and older, and that's only 2 million people, right?
92 and older.
92 and older.
There's people buying homes at 92.
Oh, I haven't sold
I love
one.
it. I love it.
So, I mean, let's take a look at this. So now the silent generation is people that were born from 1928 to 1940. So you'd have to be the age from 75 to 92. That's only 24 million of the population. Now, if we take a look at the baby boomers, and this is the second highest generation, and this right here, this data is going to be very important, right? So if we take a look, that's from 1946 to 1964, the age of 56 to 74. That accounts for more than almost 73 million in
That's
the
a lot.
population, okay?
Wow.
So if we take a look, the average, what they make, right, is $75,000. But
Wow.
if we take a look at our buyers, what are they doing when people are starting to retire? In today's market, what I'm seeing is they are downsizing. They're selling, downsizing. Because if we take a look, you have over 19,000 baby boomers retiring every single day. So now when they retire, a lot of my clients are from the East Coast or California. California because they want to save some money, right? From the West Coast.
Wow.
From the East Coast, hey, don't shoot the messenger. This is what I'm being told. When you get older, when you're in the cold, your bones start to hurt, right? So they're done shoveling snow. So
They're
they want
moving west.
They want to move west to a better climate, right?
Got it.
Where it's more dry. Not only that, if we take a look at Las Vegas, why are people moving out here? Because of the entertainment capital of the world.
We're going to talk to Joey a little bit more about this demographics and age group when we come back. We also have a caller standing on line 1. We'll get to him when we get back. And we'll be right back. We have a whole another half hour to go. If you guys have questions out there, now's the time to get those questions answered. And welcome back. This is Dan French here. I'm in studio here with my co-host, and my good friend Chakits Krulsawat. He is from Simply Vegas, CK Group. What's going on, Chakits?
And my man,
Mr. Joey. Did you say Andron? Is that how you say your last name?
That's how you say it, Andron.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Whoa, man, you said that kind of sexy over there, buddy.
He was like that cartoon with that skunk with the, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Is that Pepe Le Pew?
Yeah,
Pepe Le
yeah, is
Pew.
that what it was?
Man, that's a long time ago.
I know.
That was Bugs Bunny and all kinds of.
Hey,
you remember Bugs Bunny?
Hey, that just shows you my generation.
Yeah, right.
But you're the greatest generation, right? Was that?
So we're gonna go back. We're talking about demographics, and you were in the middle of talking. I want to ask Joey a question, but you're in the middle of talking about age groups and really what price points that traditional age groups buy at today's market. So go ahead and go back into what we were talking about.
So a lot of the age groups right now that are buying, we have the baby boomers, the Generation X, and the millennials. But if we take a look at this, the baby boomers account for 73 million people in the United States. Generation X accounts for 66 million, and the millennials, right? They account for 72 million. So if we take a look at this, this is where majority of your pool of buyers are. But if we break it down as far as demographics, what are these people actually doing? So if we start off with the baby boomers, a lot of them are starting to retire and they want to downsize and they want to be in an area where the climate is a lot better, where everything is at their doorstep, right? And where they can commute, because McCarran International, I mean, they got one-way flights to all over the place. Exactly. That's what this city's about. So that's the reason why this demographics is moving on out here. But now if we take a look at Generation X, the average, they're making about $85,000. And that's why you see a lot of people from California or Silicon Valley that, you know, all these guys that are into the tech, they're starting to realize I can actually work from home. And those are the kind of clients I get, right? So they come out here and they end up buying a home because you just get more bang for your buck. The next generation, the millennials, make an average about $69,000 a year. That's a lot of money for a millennial. So millennials are from the ages of 24 to 39, which is, I believe you are a millennial, right?
I think I barely passed into that category. I don't know. Maybe I'm on the edge.
Yeah, you are on the edge.
What year were you born?
1980.
Yeah, you 1980.
Yeah, 1980.
Okay, gotcha. You know what? You with me then. You Generation X, man.
That's right, man. That's what I was thinking. I don't know if I got into that.
What about you, Joey?
I'm a baby boomer.
Are you?
No. 77. Where do I fall? Yeah, no, I'm a Generation X.
Well, you know, we're going to talk to you about some of the clientele. So I get calls, and you and I both take the brunt of some of these calls, and we obviously talk to a lot of Chuck's clients and clients that are calling in. So, you know, what we talk about is convenience. And if you go back to the demographics of, you know, baby boomers, and when they're looking for things, they have a certain criteria. And like you said, the very first question I get is, how far are we from the airport, and how far is the commute if I have to go from one side to the other? And that's really one big thing, because they don't want to drive, you know, and they got Uber and there's all this kind of stuff. But at the same time, they're still, if they had to do something, you know.
Now, there is one criteria that they always request. Remember, baby boomers, single story.
Single stories.
Single story.
Yeah,
single story.
You took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say that, yeah. And that's, you know, I visited somebody yesterday, you know, actually doing a refinance for them. And single story, want to live close to the airport. So it's convenience. They want stores on the corners. So you're absolutely right about that. So your clientele and the clients that you deal with, is a lot of them coming with the same criteria that I'm talking about, where they're looking for certain convenience, they're looking for certain locations based upon their search.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say it's probably about 70-30, 70% of the baby boomers, the retirees that are moving out here, that they want a single story. Some just they don't care. Just as long as if it has a master bedroom on the first floor, game on.
Is the bulk of the one stories, I know they're building a lot with new homes, but is a lot of those new homes, are the single story, in Sun City, those locations where it's like Sun City, Anthem, and just those old 55-plus retirement communities?
Well, those 55-plus communities, I think there's a total of about 12 of them. But what I'm starting to see is that because money's so cheap to borrow, there's a lot of baby boomers are also spending big bucks on some of these homes too as well. Yeah. Even though some of them are downsizing, but what I'm starting to see is the younger age within the baby boomers around the 56, they still will buy that two-story because they're still healthy enough to run up and down stairs. And this is where we talk about when we deal with this type of age group, and we talk about cash buyers, when they're like liquid, let's say $1 million, and they want to buy a $600,000 home, one of the first things they'll ask me, should I pay cash or should I finance? needs. And that's what we get into. Okay, let's take a look at the situation. How old are you and how long do you think you're going to live?
Yeah.
The average person lives to about the age of 85. So if you are about 85 years old, I'm going to say if you're 80 years old, right, and you have all this money, are you going to dump all this money into this house or are you just going to finance? I probably would rather finance and keep a nest egg just in case something happens. So it's all case-by-case basis.
So we talk about generation, we were talking about Generation X, we talked a little bit about Generation Y, and I want to kind of go into that demographic real quick. You were talking about they're spending a lot of money, right?
Yeah, it's actually a Generation Z.
Generation Z.
So Generation Z is 23 and younger, and that's pretty much where my daughter is, where
Right.
what we'll start to see is that they just don't leave the house. Right.
Well, and let me say this, you look at how much Americans spend.
Yeah.
And you have gross domestic product, there's course CPE, and there's a lot of things that you look at that's being demographic that you can see how the spending's going. Last year, I believe it was actually 2019, they said the average household spent $61,000 in just goods and services, really.
You know what that is? That's hyperinflation, homie.
That's a lot of money.
That
and,
is.
And if you think about it, $61,000, I mean, I get it. Not everybody's going to be able to do
What
that.
are you buying for $61,000?
Over a year, right? And it's like, that's as much as people make annually here, you know? And so there's obviously money out there and people are spending it, but you're saying the Generation Z that they're spending money, but are they spending it on buying homes?
No, they are not buying homes. They're just buying things
Just
that they
spending
see. They're
recklessly.
spending, yes. And they're living at home, right? Taking the free ride. And that's basically what they're doing.
Kevin's been on the line here. We're going to take a quick call. We have line one on Kevin. Kevin, are you there?
Yes, sir. I am here. Hello, Chuck. How y'all doing?
Good. How's
Doing
everything
well.
going?
I'm good. I'm great. And I want to say congratulations on your 100,000 subscribers.
Oh, thank you
Enjoyed the
so
video.
much. I do appreciate
I wish
that.
we had a bell. I would like ring a bell for you.
Yeah, because I started subscribing to your channel when you was around the 60,000 mark.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yes.
Oh,
Loyal
he's been,
fan
Yeah,
here.
he's been around for a long time. I do appreciate that.
No, I definitely appreciate you doing the video. So now my question to you is, I'm born and raised in Brooklyn. I bought a condo in the Bronx.
Okay.
Got into a situation, an accident. I'm not working at the moment, but I have a situation going on, and I'm basically going to have some money.
Okay.
And with that being said, I'm like going back and forth between Vegas and Atlanta. So I would like to ask you a question about Vegas. On a $700,000 home, what would be the property tax and the cost to maintain that home every year?
Well, I can tell you with the property tax, you're probably spending about $7,500 a year. Now, with your carrying costs, it depends if you have a pool or not, and it depends on the size of the home, how much electricity you're going to use. But keep in mind, when you do buy a home out here, one of the things that you can do is contact the power company and see exactly how much it would have cost you a year to maintain that home. Also, you should have a general idea. Same thing with the water, too, as well. So that would be the best way to help you break it down.
Okay, all right, cool. Yeah, that was my only question, short and sweet.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I saw your bowling video. We need you to step your game up. I have a 185.
Oh, man.
I'm gonna need you to.
Oh, I just got called out live.
All right.
I appreciate that.
Good job, Kevin. Thanks for calling in, buddy. You have a good night, all right?
All right, y'all do the same. Thank
All
you.
right, have a
Peace.
blessed day.
Thank you, sir. We also got Bonita. She's on line 2, and let's put her through real quick. Want to get these questions answered real quick. Bonita, you there?
I am.
How
Can you
are
hear
you
me?
tonight? Yeah. How you doing?
Okay. And I want to say, too, congratulations to Chakits. And also, thanks, Dan, for doing a fine job as well.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Hey, don't forget
no
Joey.
problem.
Hey, what about me?
Yes, you too. I'm sorry. But I don't know you. I haven't seen you as much.
Well, you will start to see him around.
Oh, okay. Wonderful. But my question is, how long do you have to be on your job before you can get a loan to purchase a home?
That's a good question.
Great question.
That's a very good question, Bonita. So you have to have a 2-year working history. So if you have a 2-year working history, in some cases, you can even have gaps of employment. Now, if it's over 6 months of gaps of employment, usually you have to be back on your job for at least a year or have a good reason for that. So if it's something where you go from job to job, and let's say that you have no gap, then you're fine. You don't have, if you're going from one employer to a new employer and you're basically going through that process, you don't have to have a certain period of time because you have a 2-year working history. What a bank is looking at is a 2-year working history, and how do you tie that together? That's the most important.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's great. And how about if you're an independent contractor? What do they look for if you have your own business?
Are you a Schedule C?
Okay. I would think so. I'm not. I do a little bit on the side, but
okay. So you probably do like a 1099. I'm assuming that you're if you do go through a CPA, they're doing like a Schedule C. So on that, it's like you have to do. It's a self-employed business, so that's a 24-month period that it has to be in existence. Okay, so you have to show that. Now you can do where in some cases, you file a tax return, and then if you did accumulate through the following year that you did have a 24-month history of that, then you could do sometimes a year to date, and that would work too. The big thing is going down, the income from year over year, is it going down or increasing?
Oh, okay. That's great. Well, thank you. And I just want to say also, I know, Chakits, you don't do, I've seen you do a couple things or maybe one on the Pinnacle builders.
Yeah.
But I think they're wonderful. I don't know which one I would pick between Toll Brothers or the Pinnacle.
They're all good.
Yeah.
Thanks for your call in.
Great call, Benita. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
You have a good night.
Have a great night.
We'll talk soon. Thank you. Okay, we got a couple more callers. Do you want to go back in your demographics here real quick on what we're talking about here with some of the stuff about...
Okay, so where we left off as far as let's talk about millennials. So millennials are the age of 24 to 39. I don't see too many buyers at that age group. I do see a few. I would say probably about 25% of my clientele. However, I would say it's more between the ages of 40 to about 74 at this time. What about you, Joey?
Yeah. I would have to agree with you on that.
Yeah.
I did see on the news, it came out with an article, we just spoke about this, that there was the largest numbers recorded for millennial buyers between 25 and 35 years old.
Oh, wow. And I wonder why. Is it because money is cheap?
I would say the rates are low, and I think that everyone is seeing that there's an increase in equity. Yeah. And so if you bought, let's say 10 years ago or even 5 years ago, you're building equity. And, I think there was a scare that we didn't know what the market was doing. The whole, is the market going to collapse thing? And, everybody has to go through their own processes with that, And so I think right now we're kind of in a good place.
So is it because, people are starting to see like, hey, the Las Vegas real estate market is going up. I don't want to get left behind, so I'm scared. So now it's like a psychological thing where they want to buy a home before it's too late?
I mean, I think so. I also think that, like I said, the consumer confidence in people today is as high. And Joey, I'm sure you see this with other clients that you're working with. There's not too many people that are like, maybe worried about if they can afford this or not. They're just like, you know what, I want this house. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure they don't want to be mortgage broke. But they're definitely willing to, just so we talked about the spending, they're willing to go and spend what they want to spend to get this house. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think that there's like a new wave, right? I think the past couple of years, people kind of softened because of the collapse of the market. Yeah. And now people started to saving money over the years. Now they're maybe planning, now they're seeing the interest rates are extremely low. And then we're in the hottest market that we've been in a very, very long time. And so I think people are really just getting off the curb and saying, hey, look, we need to get in the game or we're going to be left behind.
And I think what plays a big part of it, because rates are so low nowadays, and they just look at their monthly payments, right? It doesn't matter if the market would crash anyway, because if you have a low monthly payment, you're not going to go anywhere anyway if you plan on living in your property for 10 to 15 to 20 years.
Yeah,
right?
and if you compare it to rental rates right now, it's the same thing. If you're going to be paying $2,000 a month for rent, you might as well own your home.
Yeah, I mean, if you're paying rent, I would pay myself forward. I would always try to invest my money into something as a mortgage or in a house than just pay somebody else's rent, Mm-hmm. So when you look at Vegas as a whole, we know the economy's doing well. And so what do you guys see out there as far as, I just want to kind of give the audience a little bit on what you see as far as the growth of Vegas and how that's going on, really, because
that's a very good question, and this is one of the key indicators, and this is how you forecast to see what's going on, because every state or every city has its own economy. You have to take a look at what is the primary sector. So for here, our primary sector is casino and hospitality. Okay. The reason why this is important is because this is our economy. Now, should the economy start to tank, people start to retract. They're not going to come out here and spend that extra money, right? So this is how we take a look at what's going on. So Las Vegas has about almost 3 million people now in Nevada. So it's growing pretty rapidly.
Yeah, it's going quick.
So if we take a look, if we take a look at the income revenue, and this is where we start with casino and hospitality. If we take a look at since 1970, the Las Vegas Visitors Authority, what they did was they did a statistics that we only had about 7 million people visiting at that time. We generated only about $370,000. In 1980, we had almost 12 million people visiting.
Wow.
We generated $1.6 billion. Now, I'm going to jump to 2000. We had 35 million people visiting, right? 35 million people visiting. We generated over $7.7 billion. Now, we went into the crash, 2007. 39 million people visiting Las Vegas during the crash. We generated, at that time, $10.8 billion. Today, in 2018, 42 million people visiting Las Vegas. Generated almost $11 billion in gaming revenue. So this is where you're going to take a look at this sector. We have an average of 3 million people visiting Las Vegas every single month, right? So that's where you're going to start. The average person per night here in Las Vegas spends about $559.
Wow.
That's the reason why we don't pay the state income taxes, because we generate so much money just off of gambling alone.
Yeah.
But if we take a look at the whole retail sector, $58 billion. Wow. That's why this city's not broke. You drive around, everything's pretty much clean.
Well, I mean,
we got money.
Yeah.
we ballers over here.
And talking about relocating, I mean, some people relocate to Vegas, and maybe the savings isn't as high as it once was.
Yeah.
But there's still a nice savings by moving here, and I think there's still opportunity. I get people still asking a question, hey, should I invest in the real estate market? I don't see a downside. I really don't.
I don't either.
I really don't. I mean, and especially if you're from East Coast, West Coast, wherever, you're obviously making a profit. So, a lot of questions I get are from Californians, coming in, hey, should I put my money in Vegas? And I'm like, well, I don't see where there's a downside, so maybe you should consider it, Yeah.
Well, Chuck, how many people from California moved here last year? Like 50,000?
Yeah, I think it was more than that. I think it was like 10,000 a month. I mean, that's a lot of people.
Insane.
Yes.
They're all tax refugees.
Can you even say that? Hey, you just upset everybody.
Well, it says it right here in this report that I'm reading.
Okay.
I got you.
Who was that article from? It wasn't from us.
Cross that off. No. So let's go back. We got a couple things I want to talk about.
Yeah.
So I'm going to bring this up, and I don't know how correct this is. I know this was from a survey.
Yeah.
So this is from 2000, and I know this is a couple years ago. It wasn't from last year.
Yeah.
But we see demographics of people in genres of ethnicity.
Yeah.
Their income levels. And you'd be surprised. You look at, this is as a whole.
Yeah.
You're looking at Asian household incomes in 2018. They increased 87,194. That's their annual income. You look at the Hispanic culture, 70,000. The African Americans, 41,000.
Yeah.
And so you look at some of these growths that's going on, and you're starting to see that there's a lot of people that can afford these homes. You look at what they're making and what's here in Vegas. If you decide that, if you're making a move and you're making this income, right, and you're moving here and you're saying, you know what, will I be mortgage broke, or if I buy a home, am I going to be able to afford it? Based upon those incomes, you can't afford a home here. It's very, very
you're absolutely
profitable
right.
here.
One of the things that I'm starting to see a lot, though, is yes, they do make that kind of money. However, they do spend a lot of money too as well.
61,000.
Yeah. And that plays a key role as far as the debt to income ratio. And that's why when they call and I'm like, hey, talk to Dan, and we can't get them approved for based upon what they want, it's because they're leasing cars that are $1,500 a month. That's just insane.
Yeah, I mean, when you got a payment of $1,200 and you're about $300 or $400 away from the mortgage you're trying to get, probably not a good idea to get that car loan or that lease. So we got a call on line one here. She's been waiting here. Sandy, I want to put her through. Sandy, are you online? Hi, how are you tonight? Thanks for calling in.
I'm doing good.
Wonderful.
I wanted to say hi to Chuck It.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
Good.
I want to let you know we sold our house, and I actually am interested in your opinion on whether I should buy now or wait a little, hold off a little until maybe next year?
That is a very good question. So I get this question asked all the time. Here's the thing. Will we come into a recession? I mean, I'm sure we will. The problem is that I don't know when, and it just depends based upon our economy, our monetary system, our bond rates, right? Depends on what the president does. So these are things that you have to take a look at. But the question I have for you is, how long are you planning on living in the property? Is this the last home that you're going to buy?
Well, yes.
Okay.
For sure.
So if it's the last home that you're going to buy, so the first thing that you need to take a look at, if you're going to be doing financing, speak to a lender and see exactly how much is it going to actually cost you to finance the home that you want to buy.
Right.
Then the next thing that you're going to do is, based upon the location, right, of what you're going to buy, you're going to take a look at the rental sector, right, and see exactly for the exact same home what the rents are. So if the rents are more, that answers your question, then you buy. At that point, if the rents are lower, then you may want to consider to rent. So now it just comes down to more of a personal thing based upon what your situation is and what you're going to do.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I don't know if you remember who I am, but I'm pretty picky.
And that's okay to be picky. You should, especially when you're spending hundreds of $1,000s on a home.
Yeah. Sandy, buying a home is, for most people, it's the biggest investment somebody makes in their lifetime. So you have to be picky.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Did you want to elaborate on that, Joey?
No, I'm good.
Sandy, I want to elaborate. I want to kind of extend a little bit here on Sandy. So, Sandy, I know that Chuck says, we don't know about a recession. There's no real signs.
Yeah.
I know one thing is that consumer confidence does play a big, big factor in if we're going to go into a recession. Now, you look at Australia. Australia hasn't had a recession, or for a period, they didn't have it for almost 28 years. So there's not really a barometer that says next year's the year. It's just when you start to see things, it's usually multiple signs happening at one time that you're starting to see some regression or recession happening.
And that's what this show is about. We don't predict. We don't tell you what's going on. We don't tell you what to do.
Your opinion, right.
All we do is tell you what's happening today, and we just tell you the pros and cons and how to look at things, so that way you guys can make the educated decision if this actually makes sense or not.
Right. I just know you might have some inside information as far as the way the loans and the interest rates and how that's all, falling into place.
Well, what I can tell you right now is 8 months ago, interest rates were a little bit high. They dropped down the interest rates. Now what I'm starting to see is the floodgates are coming open, and a lot of people are coming back out in the buy because the interest rates are low. Because here's the thing. I'm going to tell you right now, the home that I have is about $200,000, okay? My monthly payment's at 3.2%. I'm only paying $930 a month. I'm going to be living in this property now for probably about, I would say probably 20 years. For me, it doesn't matter if there's a recession, because when a recession hits, I'm still paying $930.
And Sandy, one of the things I can tell you about interest rates is that there's three factors for the most part. It's inflation. That's one of the factors. It's employment or the labor market, and then also geopolitical news. If there's some geopolitical news that's negative, like we talked about the coronavirus or something coming on, usually that has a good impact on lowering interest rates.
Wow. Okay.
So what we should start doing is coughing. Everybody's coughing.
Oh, that's hilarious. Oh, my God.
Sandy, I appreciate you calling so much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for calling.
You're welcome. Nice talking to you guys.
Have a good night,
blessed
Sandy.
day.
All right, we got Ryan that's sitting on line 3 here, so we're going to skip line 2. Ryan's on line 3. Ryan, you there?
Hey.
What's up?
What's up? I'm glad to be here. I just want to say thank you guys for all the free information you guys are just giving out. Very appreciative, learning a lot.
Thank you so much. I do appreciate that.
Yeah. And so basically, I'm a millennial. I'm actually also from LA.
Okay.
So it's kind of good timing. I was in Vegas for like about a year. I love it out there. And basically, my question is, so I hate the fact that 3 bedrooms here are like $800,000, and then over there it would be like $400,000.
I know, that's crazy, isn't it?
It kills me. I cannot. I was about to buy a studio for $260,000.
Oh wow.
And but I'm wondering, is it better? Is it realistic that can I say that, okay, how about I just buy a home in Vegas, hire a property manager, get it rented out, and because I have to stay here in LA for the next 5 years to be working and stuff.
Yeah.
But I was just wondering, is that easier said than done? Like, is that realistic?
No, it is realistic, and I have clients do this all the time where they're about to retire in like 2 years, and what they'll do is buy a home here. So that way they're not chasing the market, and they'll just rent it out or just leave it vacant and just come up here every other month or every 6 months just to kind of get away and take advantage of the scenery. But yeah, the first thing that I would probably do is, find out exactly if you're going to leverage out your money, how much you're going to get financed for. Then from there, take a look at the rental market to see if it actually makes sense, if you're going to actually be making cash flow, because it wouldn't make any sense just to buy a property, and you're doing negative cash flow for the next like 3 or 4 years. Now, if it was like negative cash flow of $50, then it's not a big deal because you know that you're going to transition on out here. And what you're doing is you don't have to chase the market. You're beating the market. However, again, could this market tank? Yes, it could tank. But again, you'll still have a good interest rate. Now, the way I look at it is, let's just say you only put 10% down, the market tanks. To me, it doesn't matter because I'll just end up doing a short sale. It's a lot different when you're putting all the money in the basket versus just a little bit. Now, I'm not advising you to do this, but here's the thing. When it comes to real estate, you just got to know how to play the game, and you just play the game to win. Joey?
Okay. Got it. Yeah. And, okay, that sounds pretty good. Also, touching up on your last show, I love Summerlin. That's where I would love to get a property.
Yeah.
I think Summerlin's great.
It's definitely a premium out there for sure.
So, Joey, let me ask you this. What is Joey's thoughts? Because I want to get a second perspective because my perspective isn't always right. What is your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you because anything can happen in the next 5 years, right? So if you are going to buy a home here in Las Vegas for you to transition out here in the next 5 years, you want to make sure that you're priced right? Mm-hmm. You want to be priced right. You want to make sure that you can cover that mortgage, or if you have somebody in there, it's going to be breaking even, or you're not going to be on a negative.
Hey, Ryan, we're going to be outside studio. You can get the number here. We'll get your number with Denise. We'll be back here next week, every Saturday from 6 to 7 p.m. This is LV Home Experts, the show. I'm here, Dan French. I'm also with my co-host, Chakits.k, and Joey here this week. We'll talk to you guys next week.